Every morning you wake up and the war begins. Not the war against your alarm clock or your responsibilities or the world outside. The war against the voice. You know the one. The voice that says you are too tired, that you will start tomorrow, that you have earned the right to skip today, that nobody would know if you just took this one day off. That voice has killed more dreams than failure ever could. It has destroyed more potential than any external enemy. And the worst part is that you have been treating it like a friend, like a reasonable advisor, like someone who has your best interests at heart. But here is what Miyamoto Musashi understood that you do not. That voice is not you. It is your opponent. And every time you listen to it, every time you negotiate with it, every time you let it convince you to wait just one more day, you are losing a duel to the death. Because that is what your excuses are doing. They are killing the person you could become, one compromise at a time, one surrender at a time, one broken promise at a time. And the tragedy is not that you are losing. The tragedy is that you do not even realize you are in a fight. In 1611, the night before his most famous duel against Sasaki Kojiro, Musashi did something that confused everyone who knew him. Instead of sharpening his sword or reviewing techniques or preparing his equipment, he sat alone in complete darkness for hours. No meditation, no prayer, no ritual. He was fighting an invisible opponent that nobody else could see. Because Musashi knew something that separated him from every other swordsman of his era. He knew that the real battle was never against the man standing across from him. The real battle was against the part of himself that wanted to hesitate, that wanted to doubt, that wanted to create a story about why defeat was acceptable. Every warrior he ever faced had the same technical skills, the same training, the same weapons. What they did not have was the ability to destroy their own excuses before the fight even began. While other samurai were visualizing victory, Musashi was hunting down every reason his mind would create to justify failure. And he killed those reasons with the same ruthless precision he used against human opponents. You have been approaching your excuses all wrong. You have been trying to ignore them, overcome them, push through them with motivation and willpower. That is like trying to win a sword fight by closing your eyes and swinging randomly. It does not work because you are not addressing the actual threat. Your excuses are not obstacles in your path. They are opponents with strategy, with intelligence, with the ability to adapt and evolve. They study you. They learn your patterns. They know exactly when you are most vulnerable and they strike at that precise moment. Monday morning when you are fresh, they stay quiet. Wednesday afternoon when you are tired, they whisper. Friday evening when you have had a long week, they shout. And you lose because you never learned to fight back. Musashi spent 60 duels, 60 fights to the death, perfecting a system that transformed internal weakness into external dominance. And the foundation of that system was not a technique or a stance or a strategy. It was a 10-minute ritual he performed before every battle, a ritual that systematically destroyed every excuse his mind tried to create. And that ritual is what I am going to teach you today. Before I show you exactly how this works, before I give you the step-by-step process that Musashi used to make excuses impossible, I need you to do something. Subscribe to this channel right now and hit that notification bell. Not because I need the numbers, but because this is the first test. Your mind is already creating an excuse right now. It is saying you will do it later, that you will see if the content is good first, that subscribing does not really matter. That voice, that excuse, that is your opponent speaking. And if you let it win this tiny battle, it will win the bigger ones too. So prove right now that you are ready to fight back. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. And drop a comment telling me the excuse you use most often. The one that shows up every single time you try to start something difficult. Is it I am too tired? Is it I do not have time? Is it I will start on Monday? Write it down. Because naming your enemy is the first step to defeating it. And once you see your excuse written there in the comments, once you see 50 other people who wrote the exact same words, you are going to realize something profound. Your excuses are not unique. They are not insights. They are not truth. They are the same generic weapons that the weak part of every human uses to avoid transformation. Do it now. Subscribe, bell, comment. Then come back because what I am about to show you will change everything. The morning of the duel, Musashi arrived 3 hours late. This was not an accident or disrespect. It was strategy. While Sasaki Kojiro waited on the beach, growing angry, growing impatient, allowing his mind to create stories about why Musashi had not arrived, Musashi was in a boat offshore performing his ritual. And this is what most people miss about that famous duel. Kojiro lost before the fight even started, not because Musashi was more skilled, but because Kojiro had spent 3 hours feeding his own mental opponents. Doubt, anger, confusion, all the internal enemies that Musashi had already killed in himself. When Musashi finally stepped onto that beach, he was not fighting Kojiro. He was watching Kojiro fight himself. And that is the power of the 10-minute inner battle tactic. When you destroy your excuses before you take action, you do not need to overcome them during action. They are already dead. The fight is already won. All that is left is execution. Here is what Musashi actually did, stripped of mythology, translated into a practice you can use today. He would find a quiet space, close his eyes, and systematically bring forward every excuse his mind could create. Not to argue with them, not to overcome them with positive thinking, but to face them as if they were armed opponents trying to kill him. He would visualize the excuse as a person standing in front of him. He would study it, understand its strategy, see exactly how it planned to defeat him, and then he would destroy it. Not with motivation or willpower, but with a specific mental technique that made the excuse impossible to believe. This was not meditation or visualization or any modern self-help practice. This was combat training against invisible enemies. And the reason it worked, the reason it made Musashi unbeatable, was because he understood something about human psychology that we have forgotten. Your excuses are not thoughts. They are strategies. And the only way to defeat a strategy is with a superior strategy. Let me show you exactly how this works with a real example. Imagine you have committed to waking up at 5 in the morning to work on your business before your job starts. Tonight, you set your alarm with full intention. You are motivated, you are committed, you are ready. Tomorrow morning at 5, the alarm goes off. And instantly, within 1 second, your opponent appears. The excuse arrives fully formed. You did not sleep well. You can start tomorrow when you are more rested. You will be useless if you are tired. This is a perfect example of your internal enemy using strategy. It is not saying give up forever. It is offering you a reasonable compromise. It is using your own logic against you. And if you fight this with willpower, with trying to force yourself out of bed, you have already lost. Because willpower is a limited resource and your opponent has unlimited time. But watch what happens when you use Musashi's tactic. The night before, during your 10-minute inner battle ritual, you sit quietly and you call forward this exact excuse. You visualize it as a samurai standing in front of you, sword drawn, ready to strike. This samurai has a message, the exact words your mind will use tomorrow morning. You did not sleep well, start tomorrow. Now, instead of trying to overcome this with positive thinking, you study the strategy. You ask yourself, what is this excuse trying to protect? And you see it clearly. It is trying to protect you from discomfort, from the feeling of being tired, from the temporary pain of starting your day without enough rest. The excuse is not about rest at all. It is about avoiding a feeling. Once you see this, once you understand the real strategy, you can counter it. And here is Musashi's counterstrike, the mental technique that destroys excuses permanently.
You ask yourself one question.
If I knew with absolute certainty that following this excuse would lead to my death in exactly 1 year, would I still follow it? And suddenly everything changes. Because when you frame your excuse as a survival threat, which it actually is, it loses all power. Your brain cannot justify comfort when the stakes are life or death. The excuse crumbles. The opponent falls. The battle is won. But Musashi did not stop there. He would go through this process with every possible excuse his mind could create. 5 excuses, 10 excuses, 15 excuses. He would spend the full 10 minutes hunting down and destroying every invisible opponent before they had a chance to attack him during actual combat. And this is the part that most people miss, the part that makes this tactic so devastatingly effective. By the time Musashi took action, by the time he actually faced his external opponent, His mind was completely clear. There were no voices, no doubts, no negotiations. There was only action. This is what he called Mushin, the no-mind state. But it was not achieved through years of meditation or spiritual practice. It was achieved through 10 minutes of systematic mental warfare. He did not empty his mind by ignoring his excuses. He emptied his mind by killing them. And right here, I need to pause and ask you something directly. Because I can see you watching this video and I can see you thinking about your own excuses. The ones that show up every single day and steal your potential. And I want to know which one is the strongest. Which excuse has the best strategy, the most convincing argument, the ability to defeat you even when you are motivated. Go to the comments right now and type this. My strongest excuse is, and then finish the sentence honestly. Do not filter it, do not make it sound better than it is.
Juste telles trousses.
My strongest excuse is I am too busy. My strongest excuse is I do not know where to start. My strongest excuse is I have tried before and failed. Whatever it is, write it down. Because here is what is going to happen. When you name your strongest opponent, when you pull it out of the shadows and put it in the light where everyone can see it, it loses half its power immediately. Excuses thrive in darkness, in the private conversations you have with yourself where nobody can challenge them. But the moment you write yours in the comments, the moment you see 20 other people who wrote the same exact excuse, you realize something that changes everything. This enemy is not special. It is not unique to you. It is a common opponent that everyone faces. And if it is common, it can be defeated with a common strategy. So do it now. Scroll down, type my strongest excuse is, finish the sentence, and hit post. I am going to address the most common ones in future videos. Your excuse right now could become someone else's breakthrough later. Do it. I will wait. Now let me give you the complete 10-minute inner battle tactic, step by step, exactly as Musashi would have used it. This is not theory, this is practice. This is a system you can start using tonight before tomorrow morning's battle. You are going to set aside 10 minutes in a quiet space where you will not be interrupted. No music, no phone, no distractions. Just you and your invisible opponents. First 2 minutes, you sit in stillness and you acknowledge that you are about to go to war. This is not relaxation time. This is preparation for combat. You are a warrior about to face multiple opponents, and you will show them the same respect you would show a man trying to kill you. You take this seriously because your future self is depending on you to win these fights. Minutes 3 through 8. This is the hunt. You systematically call forward every excuse you can imagine for the specific action you are about to take. If you are preparing to wake up early tomorrow, you call forward the tired excuse, the not enough sleep excuse, the start Monday excuse, the one day will not matter excuse. One at a time, you visualize each excuse as an opponent. You see them clearly. You hear their argument in full detail. And then you counter-strike with the death question. If following this excuse will kill me in 1 year, do I still follow it? Watch what happens to each excuse as you apply this question. They do not fade slowly, they collapse instantly. Because your survival instinct is stronger than your comfort instinct. Your brain is wired to avoid death above everything else. And when you frame your excuses as death threats, which they are, your entire nervous system aligns against them. But here is where Musashi added one more layer that made this tactic unbeatable. After destroying each excuse with the death question, he would visualize himself taking action anyway. Not motivated action, not inspired action, but mechanical action. He would see himself moving forward with zero emotion, zero hesitation, zero internal dialogue.
Juste pure exécution.
This is the difference between someone who overcomes excuses with willpower and someone who has killed excuses so completely that willpower is not even required. When Musashi visualized himself drawing his sword, there was no decision happening. The decision had already been made when he killed the excuse. All that remained was the movement. And this is what you are training in those middle 6 minutes. You are not training to be motivated. You are training to move without needing motivation. You are becoming someone for whom excuses are not even a consideration anymore. Minutes 9 and 10, you seal the practice. You sit in silence again and you acknowledge what just happened. You went to war against parts of yourself and you won. You did not negotiate, you did not compromise, you did not make deals. You identified your opponents and you eliminated them. And now, when tomorrow morning comes, when that alarm goes off and your mind tries to offer you an excuse, something different happens. Instead of a fresh opponent with a compelling argument, you face a ghost. A dead enemy trying to speak. And ghosts have no power over warriors. You will hear the excuse, you will recognize it as the opponent you already killed last night, and you will move. Not because you feel like it, not because you are motivated, but because the battle is already over. This is what made Musashi unbeatable for 60 duels. Not superior technique, not better weapons, not physical advantage. He won because he fought and won the internal battle before the external battle even began. His opponents were fighting two wars simultaneously. The war against Musashi and the war against themselves. Musashi was only fighting one war. Against them. And that is not a fair fight. Let me give you a real-world example of how this changes everything. There is a man, we will call him Marcus, who tried for 5 years to build a business while working a full-time job. Every Sunday night he would commit to waking up at 5 in the morning to work on his business before work. Every Monday morning he would hit snooze. Every week the same cycle. Motivation on Sunday, defeat on Monday. 5 years of this pattern. Then he learned about Musashi's inner battle tactic and decided to try it for 30 days. The first night, Sunday night, he sat down for his 10-minute ritual. He called forward his strongest excuse. You are already tired from the work week, rest is more important, you will have more energy if you sleep in. He visualized this excuse as an opponent. He studied its strategy. And then he asked the death question. If following this excuse means my business never happens, if it means I work this job I hate for the next 30 years until I retire with regrets, is rest more important? The excuse collapsed. But he did not stop there. He called forward 10 more excuses. One at a time, he destroyed them. And then he visualized himself waking up at 5 with zero emotion, zero hesitation, just mechanical movement. Alarm, off, feet, floor, done. Monday morning, 5 a.m., the alarm went off. And Marcus's mind did what it always did. It offered the excuse. But something was different this time. Instead of a compelling argument, instead of a voice that seemed reasonable and caring, Marcus heard a dead enemy trying to speak. He recognized this excuse. He had already killed it 12 hours ago. And the weirdest thing happened. He got out of bed without thinking about it. Not because he wanted to, not because he felt rested, but because the decision had already been made. The battle had already been won. There was nothing left to decide. He worked on his business for 90 minutes before work. Tuesday night, he did the ritual again. Wednesday morning, he got up again. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every single day. 30 days straight without missing once. Not because he had more willpower than before, not because he suddenly became a morning person, but because he had learned to fight and win the only battle that actually mattered. The battle against his own excuses. 6 months later, Marcus quit his job. His business was making enough money to replace his income. 1 year later, he had hired 3 people. 2 years later, he sold that business for 7 figures. And when people asked him what changed, what finally made the difference after 5 years of failure, he said something that confused most people. He said, I learned to kill my opponents before breakfast. This is not a metaphor. This is not poetic language. This is a description of actual warfare against actual opponents. Your excuses are not thoughts you need to overcome. They are enemies you need to destroy. And the 10-minute inner battle tactic is the weapon system that makes you unbeatable. But here is what you need to understand about this practice. It is not something you do once and you are fixed forever. Musashi performed this ritual before every single duel for his entire life. Before every battle, before every important decision, before every moment where his life depended on his ability to act without hesitation. Because new excuses evolve. As you grow, as you take on bigger challenges, as you move toward bigger goals, your mind will create more sophisticated opponents. The excuse that tries to stop you from waking up at 5 is different than the excuse that tries to stop you from starting a business. The excuse that tries to stop you from starting a business is different than the excuse that tries to stop you from scaling it to 8 figures. Your opponents evolve. But if you perform this ritual consistently, if you make the 10-minute inner battle a non-negotiable part of your preparation, you evolve faster. You become someone who sees excuses coming before they arrive. You develop the ability to kill opponents in seconds instead of minutes. And eventually, you reach a state that very few people ever achieve. A state where excuses simply stop appearing because your mind knows they will be destroyed instantly. This is what Musashi meant when he wrote about the void in the Book of 5 Rings. It was not mystical emptiness. It was the absence of internal opponents. It was a mind so trained in destroying excuses that it stopped creating them altogether. And when you reach that state, when you have killed so many internal enemies that your mind stops producing them, you become something that makes other people uncomfortable. You become the person who never misses, who shows up every single day regardless of circumstances, who executes without hesitation, without drama, without the constant internal negotiation that exhausts everyone else. People will look at you and they will not understand how you do it. They will think you are obsessed, that you lack balance, that something is wrong with you. And they are right. Something is wrong with you. You killed the part of yourself that makes excuses. You destroyed the internal opponents that keep everyone else trapped in cycles of starting and stopping. You went to war against yourself and you won so completely that there is nobody left to fight. So here is what you are going to do tonight.
Not tomorrow, not Monday, tonight.
You are going to set aside 10 minutes before you go to sleep. You are going to sit in a quiet space and you are going to perform this ritual exactly as I have described it. You are going to call forward every excuse your mind will create tomorrow for the one action you are most afraid to take. The action you have been avoiding, the action you know you need to do but keep postponing, the action that would change everything if you just did it. And you are going to destroy those excuses one by one with the death question. If following this excuse leads to my death in 1 year, do I still follow it? You are going to watch them collapse. And then you are going to visualize yourself taking action tomorrow with zero emotion, zero hesitation, mechanical execution. And tomorrow, when the moment comes, when your mind tries to offer you those same excuses, you are going to recognize them as ghosts.
Dead enemy with no power.
And you are going to move anyway. This is not about becoming perfect. This is not about never struggling again. This is about developing a weapon system that makes you unbeatable in the one fight that actually determines your entire life. The fight against your own excuses. Musashi won 60 duels to the death and never lost once. Not because he was the most talented, not because he was the strongest, but because he understood that the real opponent was always internal. And he spent 10 minutes before every fight making sure that opponent was already dead before the external fight even began. You have the same opponents inside you right now. The same excuses, the same voices, the same strategies trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. But now you have the same weapon Musashi used to become legendary. The 10-minute inner battle tactic. Use it. Not once, but every single day. Before every important action, before every moment where you need to execute without hesitation, perform this ritual. Hunt down your excuses, destroy them with the death question, visualize mechanical action. And watch what happens to your life when you become someone who has killed every internal opponent that stands between you and your potential. Before you close this video and go back to your regular life, I need you to do 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel and turn on that notification bell if you have not already. Because every video I release is designed to give you one more weapon, one more tactic, one more system that the warriors and philosophers and masters throughout history used to achieve the impossible. This channel is not about motivation. It is about warfare against the parts of yourself that keep you trapped. And if you are serious about winning that war, you need to be here for every weapon I share. Second, hit that like button. Not for me, but as a commitment to yourself. A signal that says, I am taking this seriously, I am going to use this tactic, I am going to fight back. That button press is your first small battle one. Do it. Third and most important, go to the comments right now and write this exact sentence. Tonight I am going to destroy the excuse that, and finish it with the specific excuse you are going to kill in your 10-minute ritual tonight.
Make it public.
Make it real. Make it a commitment that you cannot hide from. And when you wake up tomorrow after performing this ritual, come back to the comments and write, "I won." Just those 2 words. Because other people need to see that this works. They need to see real people using this tactic and winning real battles. Your comment tonight could be the thing that makes someone else finally start fighting back. So do it now. Write what excuse you are destroying tonight. And tomorrow, come back and tell us you won. This is not the end of a video. This is the beginning of your transformation into someone who makes excuses impossible. Someone who fights and wins the inner battle before the world even wakes up. Someone who would make Musashi himself nod in respect. Go to war. Destroy your opponents. And I will see you in the next video, where we will add another weapon to your arsenal. Until then, fight well.